Our most powerful and most important is when we just embrace who we are.
You win by being you, but you don't know who you is yet.
I only got one life. This is not a dress rehearsal. Can I remind you of that? You don't get a chance to do this life over again. This is the show.
Rise and shine, it's Espresso time. Good morning, Believe Nation. It's Evan. My one word is believe, and I believe in you. I believe you have an amazing gift inside you that I want to see explode out onto the world. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee and sip on today's message. Embrace who you are. Over to you, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso, keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
But wait, I need one more chance to prove that
Okay.
I could too be a maybe Greek god. Because that's my other favorite part of the film. We're kind of like, is he or is he not?
Exactly.
We don't know, which I love. That's the new take. Because
Yeah,
you
that's
kind
a
of
new
leave
take.
it like, believe in yourself.
That's
and
the
whether
most
you're a god
important
or
thing,
not.
is just believing in yourself and,
Right.
and embracing who you were born to be. So, by the way, like you're biracial, I'm biracial, right? I'm black Samoan, you're black, white. Yeah, exactly.
Hybrids.
So, oftentimes, hybrids, right? And oftentimes, like when you're younger, you know, we struggle sometimes with identity. Oh, I wish I was a little bit more like that, or I wish I wasn't different. But, you know, overall, the message of Hercules, how I bring this whole thing back
Right.
around is our most powerful and most important is when we just embrace who we are.
Absolutely.
As Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. I think this is really, really valuable advice because I believe in modeling success. I believe that you can learn from the people around you and from people who've accomplished something. It's the name of my channel on YouTube, Modeling the Masters. I love surrounding myself with all these different people who've accomplished great things, and I learn from everybody that I've profiled on my channel. If I don't learn from them, I don't feature them. But through all of that, I had to figure out who I am. I'm not gonna win the exact same way that Steve Jobs won. My goal is not to be the next Steve Jobs, and your goal shouldn't be either. It's to figure out who the best version of yourself is. And so if I'm posting a top 10 video on all these different people, the more you surround yourself with those kinds of people, the more just that success mindset is gonna seep in. But your goal is to be able to take one or two things that was in that top 10 video and think about how you can apply it to your life. If you learned a little bit from Donald Trump and a little bit from Steve Jobs and a little bit from Oprah Winfrey, you'll make yourself better. And so I've profiled controversial people on the channel on purpose, like Donald Trump. I think you can learn a lot from people who you initially disagree with. So someone like Trump, I don't agree with a lot of his politics. I don't agree with a lot of how he talks to people and treats people. But it doesn't mean that I can't learn from some of the things that he's really good at. I'm a Canadian, you know, I have no stake in the election, I didn't have a vote. If you asked Canadians what did Donald Trump stand for, what was one of his campaign policies, you think about the wall, right? It was a clear, easy to understand concept. Did I agree with the wall? Probably not, but you understood that's what he stood for. If you think about how he labeled the competitors that he was up against, if you think about Crooked Hillary as an example, do I like how he is slamming people and being really negative and name calling? No, but you remember it. If we think about what was one campaign policy that Hillary Clinton stood for, I can't tell you. And it's not because she didn't have great ones, it's just the positioning wasn't fantastic. And so a lot of what Donald Trump is great at, he may use in ways that I disagree with, but I can learn from them to use them in a positive way for myself. And if you want to beat Donald Trump, you should learn how he's using those techniques so that you can beat him, because everybody underestimated him all the way through. And so I fundamentally just believe that if somebody has accomplished something that you haven't, they've had some success, you can learn from them. Even if 95% of what they're saying you fundamentally disagree with, you could still pull something from them and use it in a positive way to help you be the best version of yourself. And so you have to understand that you're gonna win by being you. As kind of cheesy as that sounds, and as often as we hear it by all these celebrities and entrepreneurs that we profile on this channel, you win by being you. But you don't know who you is yet. You don't know what the best version of you looks like yet. And at least my way of figuring that out is making these videos, surrounding myself with these people who've accomplished a lot of success, and listening to each point and trying to think about, can I apply this to my life? I read a page from this book, The Top 10 Rules of Success, every single day. And I think about how can I apply one of these things to my life. These are some of the greatest things that these most successful people ever have said. I'm gonna take 3 minutes and just think about, can I apply this to my life somehow? And some of them you might look at and say, I already know that, I'm already doing that. And some of them you might say, well, I totally disagree with that. If you already knew it and you already had that supreme confidence, you probably wouldn't be in the situation you're in right now. You'd be on the same level of accomplishment, of success, of achievement as the people you're looking up to. And so I find that taking 3 minutes just to reflect on it and think, how can this make me better? Quite often I get some surprising ideas that allow me to push forward and actually become better. So I have a special bonus clip for you guys, but before getting to it, I have a special question for you. Question of the day is, I'm curious, what is something that you have learned from somebody else that has made you a better version of you? What have you modeled from somebody else, maybe on this channel, maybe somewhere else, that you really took home and it helped you understand yourself better? Leave it down in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe in you. I hope you continue to believe in yourself and whatever your one word is. I'll see you again tomorrow morning for another shot of espresso, and enjoy the bonus.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso, keep me going.
I hold in my hand chocolate chips, chocolate chip cookies, right? Now, what's interesting is this is just an example of when you go to any supermarket, there is a whole aisle dedicated to chocolate chip cookies. You can get whatever flavor or ever style you want, but what dawned on me is that you mean to tell me there's a whole aisle of the same product. So as I sat there looking at the aisle, I said, how is it possible in almost every supermarket in the country there can be an aisle dedicated to the same product? As I began to think about it, I said, it might be the same chocolate chip, but what differentiates one brand from another? The recipe. May I submit for your consideration, these chocolate chip cookies represent success. We all have been destined to be successful, but each one of us has a different recipe that God will use to create success. What I know is that Keebler ain't trying to steal Mrs. Fields' recipe, because Keebler does what they do, Mrs. Fields do what they do, and they both can sell millions of cookies every single year. Why? Because they're committed to their recipe. They believe that their recipe is the best, and as a result, they still find success. You don't see on the package of Mrs. Fields, we taste just like Keebler's. No! Mrs. Fields is Mrs. Fields. Keebler's is Mrs. Keebler's. And Chips Ahoy is Chips Ahoy. Oh, your difference is your destiny. You have a recipe for your success. So why are you over there trying to steal your neighbor's recipe? Why don't you start cooking up what God gave you? Start mixing up your ingredients and know that if your neighbor can find space on the aisle of the world for success, that God has some shelf space for you too. Because here's the thing, I only got one life. This is not a dress rehearsal. Can I remind you of that? You don't get a chance to do this life over again. This is the show. You're waiting to perform. The performance is now. So if you don't live out your truth, if you don't embrace your difference, will you be able to look back and say whatever you shortchanged your difference for, it was worth it? All right. Whoever you shortchanged your difference for, were they worth it? So often we become a limited version of ourselves just to be accepted by somebody who then goes on to move on to somebody else. And there we are left with the damage of having compromised ourselves for their love and acceptance. And they just said, no, and they're on to somebody else. And we're still left healing from a situation we should have never been in to begin with. Say in your notes, Devon, I just need to tell you right now, please do not want love so badly you compromise who you are to get it. If somebody you're dating cannot handle the fullness of your purpose and your calling and your personality, why don't you go ahead and drop them right now? Please drop them. Cut it off. Cut it off. Why? Because all you're doing is wasting your time and their time. Be who you're created to be. And if they cannot handle that, God bless them. Go ahead and buy them a bag of cookies and say, I'll see you on the other side. But I cannot allow myself to be subject to your limited thinking. I am bigger than your capacity to handle who I am. Who am I talking to right now? Your difference is your destiny.
Stop trying so hard to be someone you're not. Stop trying so hard, period. You don't have to. I remember constantly feeling like I wasn't what was expected of me. And a lot of that had to do with my skin color. A lot of that it feels so stupid, but a lot of it had to do with not feeling black enough. Like I was the right kind of black. Like I wasn't cool enough. Like I wasn't fun enough. Like I just wasn't good enough, or what was being painted of me, just even on television and music. And that was really disheartening. And I would tell my younger self now that you don't need to be that. It's totally fine. Like everything's going to be okay. And to honestly embrace who you are now, embrace what makes you different. People don't have to, if people don't like you for who you are, and then those people aren't meant to be in your life. You don't want them there anyway. So stop trying to impress people by being someone you're not.
Raise your standard.
Apple, at the core, its core value is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better.
Not one drop of my self-worth depends on your acceptance of me.
I don't ever give up. I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
Hey Believe Nation, if you want to see my all-time favorite top 10 rules of success, I have a very special secret video for you. These are the individual clips that I have personally learned the most from and applied to my life and my business. Check the link in the description for details.